Hi, I'm Jordan Mechner. Way back in the 80s, I made a game for the Apple II called Karateka. Now, 30 years later, I'm working with a small team to do a modern remake of that game, and I'm going to tell you how we did it. This is my storage room. So this is my first computer. The Apple II was still pretty new, so you couldn't actually buy a dust cover yet, so my mom sewed one for me. Look, she made little slots in the back so the cables could come out. There's a 16K Apple II. By now, I think it's got 48K. You can see those keys are well worn. A lot of late nights coding when I should have been studying. And so this is the computer that I took to college, did all my term papers on it, and this is the computer on which I programmed Karateka. So there were kind of two ideas that sort of came together to become Karateka. One was the idea to do a game with smooth animation that would sort of feel cinematic, and the other was to do a game that had a story, that had a beginning, middle, and an end, a love story in which I would not only be trying to win, but also get to the happy ending, like a movie. Making a game in the 80s was very much a handcraft operation. I was the programmer, artist, animator, sound designer, all rolled into one. I spent 2 years making Karateka, and when the game was finished, I put it on a 5¼ floppy disk and mailed it to my favorite publisher, Broderbund Software. Broderbund accepted the game, and it was published in the fall of 1984. I was a junior in college. In those days, games didn't have marketing campaigns, but the game's popularity spread by word of mouth until, in May 1985, I opened Billboard magazine and saw that Karateka was the #1 best-selling game in the country. This is Karateka as it was finally published, and this was the game that started my career. When I made Karateka the first time on the Apple II, I was trying to make a game that was as visually and cinematically impressive as the technology allowed. So I thought that if I was going to remake Karateka now, I should make it the way that I would have made it in 1982 if I had had the tools that we have now, in a way that would be true to the spirit of what I tried to do on the Apple II. The challenge was we had these characters who were so simple that, they were 40 pixels high. The characters' faces were 4 pixels square. What would they look like in 2012?
There's a level of simplicity that I had to work with. I had a lot of talks with Jordan. He'd send a bunch of reference my way. I'd bring stacks of reference to him, and we'd just leaf through it. I like putting them all into shapes. You may never notice it, but when I design it, I'll think rectangle, inverted triangle. Of course, bodies don't fit perfectly into it, but that's the pillar that I use as I design.
The most important thing Jeff did was find the style that struck the perfect balance between the very simple cartoony graphics of the original game and those old Japanese woodblock prints, which are more visually sophisticated. It's not photorealistic, it's not Disney, it's its own thing. I loved the characters that Jeff drew. I loved the personality and the attitude that came through, but these were static drawings. How could we bring those drawings into the game and keep that freshness and spontaneity? How could we bring those drawings to life?